Architecture has always been bound by numbers, square feet, ceiling heights, setbacks, and ratios. Yet the most powerful spaces are not remembered for their measurements, but for how they make us feel. Architectural alchemy is the quiet magic of transforming limited dimensions into limitless experiences. This narration explores how thoughtful design converts physical constraints into visual freedom, proving that space is not only built with walls, but with intention, perception, and imagination. True architectural mastery begins when space is treated as a concept rather than a container. A room does not need to be large to feel expansive. By redefining how boundaries are perceived, architects dissolve the rigid edges of square footage. Space becomes fluid, experiential, and emotional. In this mindset, architecture shifts from accumulation to curation, where every inch carries meaning and no dimension is wasted or ignored. Visual freedom is the sensation of openness, clarity, and ease within a built environment. It is not about excess, but about release, releasing the eye from clutter, releasing movement from obstruction, and releasing the mind from spatial anxiety. Architects who prioritize visual freedom design spaces that breathe. These environments invite calm, creativity, and connection, even when their physical footprints are modest or tightly constrained. Simplicity is not the absence of complexity, but the mastery of restraint. Clean lines guide the eye effortlessly through a space, reducing visual noise and enhancing spatial clarity. When forms are intentional and compositions are disciplined, rooms feel larger and more coherent. Architectural alchemy often begins here, where subtraction becomes more powerful than addition, and where simplicity unlocks an unexpected sense of freedom. Open plan design is more than removing walls. It is about orchestrating flow. When living, dining, and working areas merge seamlessly, the eye travels uninterrupted, creating a perception of spaciousness. However, true success lies in subtle zoning through furniture, lighting, and material shifts. These invisible boundaries preserve function while maintaining openness, allowing square footage to feel expansive rather than chaotic. Natural light is one of architecture's most transformative tools. Sunlight dissolves edges, softens surfaces, and animates interiors throughout the day. Large windows, clerestories, skylights, and light wells pull the outdoors inward, extending visual boundaries beyond walls. When light is thoughtfully controlled and celebrated, even the smallest space can feel generous, alive, and emotionally uplifting. Visual freedom is not only horizontal, it is vertical. Higher ceilings create a sense of release, even in compact floor plans. Vaults, exposed beams, and vertical alignments draw the eye upward, expanding perceived volume. Even subtle techniques, like tall doors or vertical paneling, stretch spatial perception. Architecture reminds us that freedom often lies in how we look, not just where we stand. Glass is one of the most powerful materials in architectural alchemy. Transparent and translucent surfaces blur the line between inside and outside, public and private. Sliding doors, interior glass partitions, and open sight lines allow spaces to visually overlap. This overlap creates depth, layering, and continuity, turning limited square footage into a dynamic, interconnected spatial experience. Material choice plays a silent but critical role in visual freedom. Reflective surfaces amplify light, while continuous materials reduce visual fragmentation. Natural textures ground a space without overwhelming it. When floors, walls, and ceilings speak the same material language, the environment feels unified. This continuity tricks the eye into perceiving greater scale, harmony, and calm. Clutter is the enemy of spatial freedom. Built-in furniture, integrated storage, and concealed utilities preserve clean visual lines. When architecture absorbs function, interiors remain open and legible. This discipline allows small spaces to feel intentional rather than cramped. Architectural alchemy thrives when every element has a place and nothing competes unnecessarily for attention. In visually liberated spaces, furniture is not an afterthought. It is architectural. Low-profile pieces maintain open sight lines, while multifunctional designs reduce redundancy. Furniture that aligns with the architecture reinforces spatial clarity. When scale, proportion, and placement are carefully considered, furnishings support the illusion of openness rather than interrupting it. Color shapes perception. Light, neutral palettes reflect illumination and soften boundaries, making spaces feel larger and calmer. Strategic contrasts add depth without overwhelming. Monochromatic schemes allow the eye to move freely, while carefully placed accents guide focus. In architectural alchemy, color is not decoration, It is a spatial instrument used with precision and restraint. Minimalism is often misunderstood as emptiness, but in architecture, it is clarity. Fewer visual distractions allow occupants to feel grounded and in control of their environment. This psychological comfort enhances the sense of space. When architecture supports mental ease, physical limitations fade into the background, replaced by a feeling of openness and intentional living. A well-framed view can double the perceived size of a room. Windows positioned with intention capture landscapes, skies, or gardens, extending space beyond walls. Even urban context can be borrowed through light, movement, and depth. By treating views as architectural elements, designers expand square footage visually, connecting interiors to a larger world. Good circulation feels effortless. Hallways that double as galleries, staircases that invite movement, and pathways that reveal space gradually all enhance visual freedom. When circulation is intuitive and generous, a home feels larger and more comfortable. Architectural alchemy transforms movement itself into an experience rather than a compromise. Constraints force creativity. Some of the most innovative architectural solutions emerge from small spaces. Compact homes, studios, and tiny dwellings demand efficiency, adaptability, and imagination. These environments become laboratories where architects refine the art of visual freedom, proving that limitations can inspire brilliance rather than restrict it. A space can be emotionally spacious even if physically small. When architecture supports rest, focus, and joy, occupants feel unburdened. Visual freedom translates into emotional freedom. The absence of spatial stress allows people to connect more deeply with their surroundings, transforming architecture into a quiet partner in daily well-being. Architectural alchemy aligns naturally with sustainability. Designing for visual freedom rather than excess reduces material consumption and energy use. Smaller, smarter spaces encourage mindful living. When architecture delivers abundance through design rather than size, it challenges the notion that more square footage equals better living, offering a more ethical vision of comfort. Trends come and go, but visual freedom is timeless. Architecture rooted in proportion, light, and clarity ages gracefully. By avoiding unnecessary complexity, these spaces remain adaptable and relevant. Architectural alchemy is not about spectacle. It is about longevity, where thoughtful design continues to feel expansive and meaningful over decades. Every well-designed space tells a story without words. It guides movement, frames moments, and shapes daily rituals. Visual freedom allows this story to unfold gently, without force. Architecture becomes a background that supports life rather than competing with it. In this way, square footage transforms into narrative richness. Architectural alchemy teaches us that freedom is not measured in size, but in experience. By mastering light, proportion, flow, and restraint, architects turn limitations into liberation. Square feet become secondary to perception, emotion, and intention. In the end, the most powerful architecture does not give us more space. It gives us more freedom within the space we already have.